Well, thanks for pulling us up today. This is Conversations and Connections, the official podcast of the Family Crisis Center of East Texas. Stuart Burson with you today. And before we get started on today's show, something I want to talk to you about. The Family Crisis Center is having a housewares drive for our thrift stores. As a lot of you know, we do maintain 2 thrift stores, one in Lufkin, one in Nacogdoches. And these stores provide 100% of the revenue from these stores go to services for survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And I think a lot of times people think about donating clothing. And of course, we got a lot of clothing at the stores, but right now we are in need of housewares. And what do we mean by housewares? Well, this is things such as furniture, home decor, kitchenwares, kitchen gadgets, small appliances, collectibles, knickknacks, garage sale type things. So if you have something and you want to declutter your house, think about the thrift stores. We have our store in Lufkin is at 206 White House Drive, right next to Walmart. And in Nacogdoches, it's 3909 North Street, kind of between Atwood's and the little shopping center where the movie theater used to be there in Nacogdoches. But that is our housewares drive for our thrift stores going on right now. My guest today on the podcast is Sharon Kruk, the executive director of the Coalition. We work really closely with the Coalition with a lot of things throughout the year. And of course, their main mission is educating youth and promoting substance abuse education towards our young people, tobacco, vaping, drugs, things like that. They have a lot of interesting programs. They have the Drug-Free All-Stars. They have Project Sticker Shock, and we'll go over all of those today. So let's take a listen to our conversation with Sharon Kruk of the Coalition. Well, I really do thank you for agreeing to come back and doing this again. I was trying to think, it's been
a while.
2 years, 3 years, maybe,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to have you back on here, Sharon. First of all, the Coalition, we're going to talk about what the Coalition does, your mission and all of that. But you're probably one of the largest agents or the agency that we spend the most time kind of in collaboration with mm-hmm. a lot of different things, mm-hmm. Whether it be the interagency meetings, stuff with the Drug-Free All-Stars, and things like that.
Yeah, well, we really do. And our missions are both, similar in that, right. We're trying to prevent things. But yeah, we're really kind of on 2 different subject matters, but they do intertwine and they are interconnected.
Well, right. And I do want to get into that here in a minute, how like the role of the interagency mm-hmm. Meetings and how all of that kind of ties in. But, again, I'm going to be very honest with you. For the longest,
go for it.
I always kind of got y'all in ADAC,
of course,
flip-flopped around a lot of times. Yes. And I think I finally got on Abby's nerves a little bit every now and then when I would say something about ADAC. This is Abby with ADAC and the Coalition, Stuart. I know that, yes. But because you do kind of, in a way, kind of mm-hmm. serve the same. The same purposes. But what I do want to kind of start out with again is the mission of the Coalition. Mm-hmm. It's what exactly do you guys do? What's your mission?
So we are focused on preventing substance misuse across Deep East Texas. Right now, we're serving 3 counties: Angelina County, Polk County, and Cherokee County.
Okay,
and that just by itself is. Like you're right. It's very similar to what Alcohol and Drug Awareness Council does. just preventing substance use. But we take it a step further in the way that we look at prevention. And we're built on a community coalition model that is a nationwide model. And that model says that community coalitions are going to bring together different sectors of the community to address whatever issue it is that, is the most prevalent in the community. And for us, it's for substance misuse, preventing that substance misuse among youth.
Okay.
So we're focused on youth. And the way that we go about that prevention is we work on what we call environmental strategies. So rather than the best example that I can give is, let's say secondhand smoke. This is going to go back to 2013, but secondhand smoke. We could go around individually, one person at a time, or even a class of 20, 25, and we could say, secondhand smoke is really bad for you. You shouldn't be around a smoker because secondhand smoke is just as bad as firsthand smoke. And we could go around individually. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of effort. Or we could work with our city council. Our youth and our all-stars can work with city council to come up with an ordinance such as Smoke-Free Lufkin, which protects the entire city from secondhand smoke exposure, saying that, you can't smoke within 25 feet of an entrance or an exit to a building, and it can't smoke inside, that sort of thing.
And that was y'all's initiative, right?
It was, yes, in partnership with several others. And we had a whole committee that worked on that, and our youth were definitely players in that. But yeah, that's kind of the idea, is that instead of individual prevention, we're working on to borrow from Harry Potter, for the greater good. We're looking at the greater good. What can we do as an environmental strategy that would work to protect our entire community?
Okay. And I want to get a little deeper into that here in a minute, but I really, like I said earlier, I really like the idea of the partnerships that you've cultivated with other agencies. Mm-hmm. And I kind of want to get into the interagency meetings.
Definitely.
And the interesting thing about that is the interagency meetings aren't necessarily always focused on substance abuse prevention. Just whatever agencies are out there that serve Angelina County can come and participate, talk about what they're doing, what's going on.
Yeah. And that's a piece of the community coalition model, is that you're bringing together all these different sectors of the community, but all of these different resources in the community as well. So our interagency coalition has been around for almost as long as the coalition has been around.
Okay.
And basically the idea behind that is we bring together all of the social service nonprofit agencies that serve Angelina County, and we bring them together, convene them once a month, and share that networking time, but also allow for different nonprofits and agencies to share what particular programs they are working on. So it gives, really gives an opportunity for you to come and give, a 15-minute presentation on what is consent,
right.
And how can you talk to your kids about consent? Mm-hmm. It gives, us also an opportunity to say, hey, we've got these legislative things coming up, would y'all join us in paying attention to the Texas legislature and what's happening around substance use and teen vaping and things like that? It also, I have found the interagency coalition is really important to the funders in our area. And that whether that be, grant making organizations or private foundations or even private donors, they really like to see that all of these agencies are working together, and that you know about Burke and what they're doing, as the Family Crisis Center, and that Burke knows what the coalition is doing, and the coalition knows what, the list goes on, that we all know what each other are doing. Hopefully we're avoiding duplication of service, and we're most wisely using the dollars and the resources that are available to us.
The interagency meetings, did that come about because of the coalition? Is that one of the things that you guys wanted to do, is start an interagency
As far as I know, yes.
Yeah.
I was not around at that time because, the coalition was founded in 1988. So over 35 years old.
Yeah.
And we're getting close to 40, actually. I should start saying nearly 40 instead of over 35. And the interagency coalition started 5-6 years after we were founded. So it was part of our original grant that was through the federal government. It was a drug-free communities grant. And one of the measures that they had was to bring together different sectors. Yeah.
Now, do you guys host interagency meetings in other counties besides Angelina?
We do not. We attend them, but we do not.
Well, since y'all serve Polk and Cherokee, I didn't know if y'all spearheaded any interagency efforts.
No, we don't.
Over there.
We don't.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the Drug-Free All-Stars. And this is probably one of the things or one of the initiatives that you guys do that I'm probably the most familiar with because well, first of all, just kind of tell us a little bit about what the Drug-Free All-Stars are, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Okay. Yeah. The Drug-Free All-Stars are a select group of high school seniors that pledge to be drug, alcohol, tobacco, and nicotine free. During their senior year, they sign up to serve as All-Stars, going out in the community. They're really kind of the face of the coalition, going out into the community, working different community events, helping people understand, the prevention message, but then also working within their campus, and their peers to get that education piece out there. But then also there's, a smaller subset of that group that are really interested in advocacy. And those students we train and work with very closely on how to talk to the media, how to talk to your legislators, how to talk to city council people, all of those stakeholders and decision makers. And we find that it really empowers our youth, whether or not the rest of their life they're going to be working on substance use prevention or not.
Right.
The program is designed to give leadership and communication skills to these kids that they can use throughout their college and whatever they decide to do after graduation and hopefully the rest of their life.
Yeah. How long has that program been around?
It's over 30 years old. So again, started pretty quickly, after the coalition was founded. And what's really neat about the program is, within the past couple of years, we've started getting All-Stars that are children of All-Stars. So, second generation All-Stars. And that's just really fun to see.
Yeah. And one of the things I like about the All-Stars is the way they go. Like, for instance, they come to the Family Crisis Center once a year, and we do usually a presentation for them about what the Family Crisis Center is. In fact, last year I specifically did a presentation to them about teen dating violence. And they also take part in our Christmas drive for our clients' children.
Yes.
And they also provide – I don't think we could do our oh my God!
The obstacle course.
Thank you. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me of what I do. It's like you ever had when your mind just like I drew a blank. Our obstacle course every year at Angelina College. That takes a lot of people, and the Drug-Free All-Stars always lend us a hand. In that.
I think that's another pillar of the All-Star program is that service to community. And so while the majority of the things that we're asking them to volunteer for or giving them the opportunity to volunteer for are around substance misuse prevention. Like you said, we also have them, collecting gifts for families at the Family Crisis Center for Christmas. So, yeah. And
one of the things that I think is also impressive, they spend the Project Sticker Shock where they put the labels on the alcoholic beverages, right? Talking about the dangers of alcohol consumption. 2
times a year we actually do that. We do that right around the holidays, and we get permission from the retailers in the area that sell alcohol. And our All-Stars go in around Christmas. They are putting stickers warning against drunk driving, driving under the influence. And then in the springtime, we're really same idea, but putting stickers on focusing on preventing adults from providing alcohol to minors.
Okay.
We find that happens more often in the springtime when you get around spring break,
Right.
prom, graduation, all of those
Yes.
fun spring things that sometimes adults forget that they should not be providing alcohol to minors.
Have y'all ever thought about doing this also for tobacco products, or do y'all do it for tobacco?
We have not.
as well?
That might be an idea that we could. Thanks, Stuart. That we could,
I
we could
just
throw
didn't know
around.
what if that was ever a thing that
Yeah.
y'all
Yeah.
thought of, or if there may have been a reason why y'all
Well, the reason why
do not do that.
Yeah, the reason mainly why we focus on alcohol is because, believe it or not, it is the number one used substance by youth.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, well, when we're going to get into, I want to ask you about that here in a minute. Other than the Drug-Free All-Stars, you did talk about the drug-free councils at schools. Is there a drug-free council at every school in Angelina County?
Yes, there sure is. Yes.
Okay.
Every school, including Piney Woods Community Academy, our charter school, all of the schools have a drug-free council club, and those are student or campus-based student groups that just like the All-Stars, take a pledge to be drug, alcohol, tobacco, nicotine free. But they are really working just on their campus. On different prevention activities throughout the year. We ask that they do some kind of, project or activity in the fall and then one in the spring. Generally, they like to do things around Red Ribbon Week in the fall. And then in the spring, they generally choose to do something around prom and, like prom promise, not having alcohol at prom, that kind of thing. And those are open to 9th through 12th graders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the All-Stars are only seniors, but our DFC groups are an opportunity for everybody on campus to participate.
So I have a little bit of inside knowledge on this next question because another thing that, and I just can't really sing the praises enough of the Drug-Free All-Stars, but you also get different people in the community, your community partners, to help with the interviews of these students.
Yes.
And so I kind of know a little bit about this, but what are you looking for when you have a student? They have to be a senior or an incoming. They're about to become a senior.
Yes.
What are you looking for? I mean, can just any kid that says, I want to be a part of the Drug-Free All-Stars and they're in, what kind of a process is it to select these students?
Yeah, it's pretty in depth actually, and it's been honed over the years of the program. So to start off with, they have to submit a pretty in-depth application that has lots of short answer questions on it. They have to have 2 references, so a school personnel reference and then somebody from outside the school. And then they have to make that pledge to be drug, alcohol, and tobacco free, which for some seniors, that's a hard pledge to make. And, we have to be upfront about that. And then they have to come in for the interview. The interview generally lasts from 20 to 30 minutes. And like you said, we like to have community partners in on that. And really, it's a twofold thing. One is to kind of get to know the kids a little bit before we determine whether or not they're a fit for the program. But for a lot of these students, this is their first time ever doing any kind of interview. And so it's a learning experience. And as a former educator myself, anytime you can put learning experiences into real world, application, I love to do that. And so it's been great. I usually don't participate in the interviews. We reserve me as a backup in case we need to do a second interview with a student.
Okay.
But I generally am listening from my office, and I can hear these students, and a lot of them are nervous.
Oh, of course. Oh, yes.
But then some of them come in and they knock your socks off because they're not nervous at all. They know about the program. They've heard about it, and they are gangbusters wanting to join. And so, all across the spectrum, we take any students that really are interested in having those volunteer and leadership skills honed. And they don't necessarily have to be the most outgoing students, in our community. Sometimes they're the quietest students, and that's okay because we can find things for them to do that's going to fit more with their personality. Maybe a letter to the editor or, surprisingly, one of the favorite things for them to do is we volunteer or we go to the senior expo and talk with, older folks about safe medication storage and that thing. And our All-Stars love that. And it's so fun to see those high school seniors talking with the other seniors in our population. So, yeah, all across the spectrum.
So one of the questions, and I asked and I want your take on this, and you kind of answered this a little bit a while ago, but a few weeks ago, Kim Bartell with ADAC was here, and I asked him the exact same question. What do you see? And I guess really with you, it's specifically with youth, but what is the biggest problem right now in Angelina County? We have tobacco, we have drugs, we have vapes, we have all these things now, probably more things than what you and I had to maybe deal with when we were young. What do you see as the biggest concern in Angelina County?
Well, probably I would guess that Kim Bartell said meth or somewhere around there. For adults, that generally is what they see of those that are being referred for treatment. It's usually meth, alcohol, sometimes marijuana, cannabis. For youth, the number one from our surveys that we do biannually through the schools, we find that alcohol is still the number one used substance among youth. There for a while, e-cigarettes were right on the heels of alcohol. But that has kind of leveled off a little bit. So we're glad about that. But increasingly, cannabis, marijuana is on the rise. And that's kind of there's a double reason for that. One is that students are seeing that other states are legalizing, and the implicit message behind legalization is it's safe and it's okay. And so our students see that, our youth see that the message of legalization is that it's safe, and so they think it's okay for them to use.
Right.
And then increasingly in the state of Texas, although we are not a legalized state, increasingly in the state of Texas, different formulations of cannabis have been made legal through kind of a loophole in our legislation, our Farm Bill legislation. And so I'm sure many of the listeners here on this podcast will recognize seeing Delta 8, Delta 9, lots of different things that we see out, at vape shops, but also just in your convenience stores. Yeah. Well,
and I kind of want to touch a little bit on that. What do you think about I used to always make the joke. I'm originally from Houston. And when I moved to East Texas, I used to always kind of joke, you could drop out of an airplane and parachute in anywhere in East Texas and throw a rock and you'll hit a church.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now it's almost like you can throw a rock and hit a vape shop.
Yes.
I mean, these things are popping up everywhere. And what is your take on that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, the increased access, increased availability. So the more stores you have that are selling these products, that increases access for students. So for youth. So that's really the point of view that we're looking at. Responsible adults can do and imbibe and inhale whatever things they want to do. But when you flaunt it and you have it on every street corner in our community, and when students go to get a Dr. Pepper and they go up to the convenience store counter and there's also kratom, or psychedelic mushrooms, or Delta 8, then we're increasing that access to our students, and they're going to think that it's okay.
Well, what do you think about the argument, I guess I could say, that cannabis or weed, it's just like alcohol. If you're responsible, it's okay. It should be legalized. It's not any more dangerous than if you drink too much.
Yeah. So I would have a lot to say.
And I'm sure you hear that.
Yes, we do. We hear it. We hear it pretty often, and there's lots of arguments against that. I think I will distill it down and say that for young people whose brains are not fully developed, and that is all the way up to age 25. I'm not just talking about 18, 19-year-olds. I'm talking about all the way up to 25 and 26 years old. Their brains are not fully developed, and when you introduce substances like cannabis and alcohol and tobacco, any of those products that are addicting, they are addicting. When you introduce those to a developing brain, you're setting yourself up for addiction later in life.
Yeah. Well, and where I see a lot of ads now for vape products, nowadays when you go fill up your car, there's TV screens on the gas pumps. And I don't think I never fill up where I don't see an ad for Juul or whatever the other companies are that
the newest thing
that sell these products.
The one that we see the most, we do environmental scans every once in a while and go out and look at what ads are out there. And right now it's Zen. Those are the little nicotine pouches that is similar to the old fashioned dip that folks used to do, chewing tobacco, but instead of it being loose leaf, it's all contained in this little pouch that looks kind of like a breath mint, and stick it between their teeth and gum.
Nicotine.
It's straight up nicotine.
Okay.
And I mean, nicotine is one of the most addicting substances.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
One of the most addicting substances and one of the hardest things to quit.
Right.
Introduce that to a developing brain and you've got problems later in life.
Yeah. Is it a bigger challenge today to promote the message of to promote your message than it was years ago? And I guess I'm thinking because, let me backpedal a little bit. I remember when e-cigarettes first came on the market, and I'm sure you do too, their selling point was it's safer than a cigarette.
Yes.
If you're trying to quit, this is what you need. You can use it anywhere. And of course, I think everybody knows now it's things are different. But I remember that was the marketing, and I remember. And I don't think this lasted very long. I remember seeing television commercials for and they literally looked like a little cigarette is what they looked like. But I guess what I'm getting at is when I was a young person, it was alcohol and weed, I guess, were the things that, that they were really trying to prevent. And now there's just so you couldn't go to a vape shop and get a gummy or get the vapes, and you couldn't do all these things. And I can't drive by a college campus where kids are walking on the sidewalk. You see these big plumes of vape smoke, or someone in their car at the stoplight in front of you. You see these all this vape smoke just billowing out of a car. I guess what I'm asking is it just as big of a challenge? Is it more of a challenge now, do you think?
I think it's equally probably a challenge. It's just different now. The advertising is different. They are increasingly using social media influencers to get their messages across, to buy these products, use these products. And it does sometimes feel like, we're taking one step forward, three steps back. But that's kind of the name of the game in prevention. I think all of us that are in any kind of prevention, we feel like that.
And on a little side, I don't know if you've seen these. What I have seen now, and I hear a lot of commercials on podcasts, ironically, that I listen to. They now have this device. All it is, they say it's just flavored air. Have you seen that? It looks like a cigarette or like a vape, maybe, and it's these cartridges, and all you're doing is inhaling flavored air.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
I would ask. I would, well, actually, I'm not a betting woman, but I would bet that those are not approved by the FDA, and that nobody's testing those products to know what actually you are inhaling, because you're not, you're not just inhaling air.
Right.
You're inhaling the chemicals that are that make the flavors.
Well, and another thing I always think about too, and I'll be honest, I went to college. I tried cigarette smoking one time. Didn't do anything for me. I'm a extremely light drinker, but you see all these people trying these things, and I honestly kind of lost my train of thought when I was going with this statement. But I guess again, I just think now with, vapes are introduced and the gummies and everything like that, it's just there's a lot more product, I guess, for people are exposed to now than they were.
Yeah, definitely.
Years
ago. I mean, I think back in our days, the just say no, dare, those things were out there, more fear tactics, scare tactics.
Do you think that worked? Do you think that was effective?
It's not. It may have been effective for some folks back then.
Yeah. It's
really not as much of an effective technique now. We find that a more effective technique is explaining, instead of just saying, just say no, explaining to kids or youth, why, the why behind it. They really want to know. They want to understand why these products might be harmful to them. And that argument that e-cigarettes, are safer than maybe your traditional commercial tobacco. I love to give the analogy to kids. When I do presentations with kids, I pick one out of the audience and I'll say, hey, we're going to go up to the very top story of a 30-story building, and I'm going to ask you to jump. And what are you going to say? And they say, of course, I'm going to say no. I'm like, okay, well, let's go down to the 10th floor. And now I'm going to say jump. And are you going to jump? Well, no, of course not. And I'm going to say, well, it's safer, right? But safer doesn't mean safe.
Right.
And you can apply that to a lot of different things in your life, but really getting that analogy in kids' heads that just because somebody says that something's safer doesn't make it safe, doesn't make it good for you.
Well, and one of the things I think about also is you don't know where this stuff is coming from.
Absolutely.
You don't know what's the origin of this? Where is it made?
And the potency, I think that's another, another point that most people don't, really recognize. Most people our age or, even a little bit older, we all have thoughts of Woodstock and, the hippie movement and, smoking weed in that context.
Yeah.
The stuff that's out there now is quadruple, 50 times more potent.
That's what I hear.
Yes, absolutely. Than Woodstock weed. It's just, this is not your grandma's weed. It's way more potent.
Right.
Thus, it's way more addictive.
Yeah. So you said you used to be an educator.
I did.
Well, what were you doing in the education field?
I started off in middle school language arts. I loved those crazy middle schoolers.
So let me tell you something.
Yeah.
And I've had most people look at me with the craziest face. With what I do, I go to schools. I talk to high schoolers. I talk to middle schoolers. I talk all the way down to the first graders. I love the middle school kids. And I have a cousin who's an educator. She's a retired principal. And she just looks at me like, are you crazy?
Yeah. But probably the same way we look at the kindergarten teachers, right?
Maybe so.
I look at kindergarten teachers and I think I could never do that, you know? I love those middle school kids. I student taught in 7th grade and then I taught for many years in 8th grade. And then I actually moved into administration and was at an elementary school and enjoyed that. But man, those middle school kids, I don't know if they're so quirky.
Well, I think that's what it is. And, it's like they're starting to, I think, appreciate what you're trying to tell them. Because usually middle school, I might talk about dating violence, but I'll talk about bullying, and things like that. And I don't think they're quite old enough to think they know everything.
Yes.
Yet. I just really I love that age group.
Yeah. I do too. I did a little bit of my student teaching in 6th grade, and the 6th graders didn't quite get my humor or my sarcasm. So I found that 7th and 8th grade was really my bailiwick. I loved being with those 7th and 8th graders. Yeah.
So what made you get out of education?
Well, my husband was chasing a head coaching job. And so we ended up in East Texas. And coincidentally, right around that time, my children were very small. And so I stayed home with them, did a remote job before a remote job was even a thing. This way pre-pandemic. I did a remote job for a little while, and then eventually made my way into nonprofits. Ended up at the Mosaic Center for a couple of years.
Okay.
And loved that. And then my degree is actually in political science, believe it or not.
Interesting.
And I got certified to teach government and English, language arts. And so when this opportunity came up, the former ED was Janet Taylor. Many people know Janet. She was at the coalition for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. And when we interviewed, she was like, this is going to meet a lot of your likes. And sure enough, it is. I'm a policy and government politics wonk. I love it. And again, I must be odd because most people wouldn't say that, but I do love that piece. I love the governmental process and policy. And so that's a big part of what we do at the coalition is that advocacy policy piece. And so it kind of melds all the pieces together of, I love teaching, educating, but I also love this, policy and advocacy side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not from here?
I am not from here.
Where'd you grow
up? Clear Lake. My dad.
Oh, okay.
My dad worked for NASA. And so, I'm a Clear Lake.
I never knew that.
Yeah, okay. Clear Lake girl through and through.
I grew up in Aldine.
Okay, yeah.
You're familiar with that. I'm
opposite sides of Houston.
Very much.
Yes.
Very extreme north and extreme south. But okay, so you came from the big city too.
I did.
Then.
I did.
Okay, great.
It was a little bit of a culture shock. To come to East Texas.
I guess I moved to East Texas in 1997. Okay. I guess to center.
Yeah, that's about 8 years or so before we got here.
Yeah. So it's a different world.
Yeah,
but,
it is.
It's kind of wild to think now that I've been living in East Texas longer
than anywhere else?
Houston now.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm born and raised in Houston. I'm going to stay in Houston. Uh-huh. And now, you sit back and you realize, well, shoot, I've been in East Texas way longer now than. Yeah. So this is gonna this is gonna come out in July. Do you have anything coming up? What's y'all's next big event? Do y'all have anything coming up?
As we referenced earlier, we're going through the interview process for our All-Stars. We'll make those selections in July. And then really the big kickoff to that is at the end of August. We do a half-day training for those All-Stars, really get them familiar with what we do, familiar with the education pieces that they're going to be taking out into the community. And so that's really what we're working towards is that big training in August. And then we launch those All-Stars out into the world and they start doing all kinds of fun community service and education pieces their senior year.
All right, great. Mm-hmm. All right, Sharon, thank you so much.
Yes.
I appreciate it. We'll do it again in a few more years.
Sounds great.
All right, Sharon Kruk, she's the executive director of the Coalition here in Angelina County. If you feel like you need, if you have any questions or any input, you can email us at conversations@fccet.com. Also, if you feel like you need the services of the Family Crisis Center, we do have our toll-free number. That's 1-800-828-7233. And if you find yourself listening to us, we ask that you subscribe. And you could find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, pretty much any podcast service of your choice. Remember, be the voice. If not for you, for someone else.